So previously I did a video reviewing a 13-inch 2018 MacBook Pro, and I decided ultimately that computer wasn't for me. And really, this set me on a quest, a journey, one might say, to find the ultimate computer, like the best computer, but also on a budget. So, as a designer and a developer, I go between Sketch and Xcode a lot. I have a lot of pages open, and I needed something capable, but also something portable. I do a lot of freelance work, and I work remotely. So since the 13-inch MacBook Pro didn't work out, and my faithful 2013 MacBook is starting to show its age, well, what was I to do? I get a 2018 15-inch MacBook Pro. So I'm going to do some comparisons between these two. Obviously that's the most direct. But it's not going to be a typical review of this machine, but rather sort of a look at what are the right tools that one needs to be a developer and a freelancer, and stay on a budget. So, yeah, let's look at, well, there are a lot of different computer options. What are they? So we're on a quest. We're on a quest to find the best computer for software development and freelance work. I think the go-to choice, and spoiler, what most everyone uses and kind of where I'm at, is the 15-inch 2018 MacBook Pro. But you can also try to be extra portable and get a 13-inch MacBook Pro. There's also kind of there's some wild card, the iMac, or what about an iMac Pro? And then here at the end would be a Mac Mini connected to this gorgeous little 4K display. Now, if I weren't an iOS developer, I'd also consider building my own PC. Done that a number of times. There's one off camera right now, and I think that's great. You can use it for a lot of work or to play games. But since I'm an iOS developer, I need to run Xcode, and yes, I know I could do it on Hackintosh, but no, I'm not going to do that. I've done it, but there are some drawbacks going that route. So, we look at Apple machines, and we kind of want to find the best option. Now, if you recall, I already did a video and I reviewed this 13-inch MacBook Pro. And honestly, like for me, it just didn't quite work. There's still some technical limitations that I think is more Intel's fault than Apple's. And so for right now, this isn't going to work. So then I was back to the 15-inch MacBook Pro. Which is what I'd used. I'd used an older one, and I'd used this guy in the past, and I thought, okay, I'll hook it up to a monitor, and that's what most people do. But there are a couple of issues, actually, in my day-to-day workflow that both the old and the new MacBook Pro didn't solve. One of the main ones being, I connect it to my external monitor and things. Unless you buy a really, really expensive one, there's no webcam, there's no speakers, and since I'm video conferencing quite a bit, it's quite annoying to have your desk set up and then have to look over to your little laptop screen. I get it, not the end of the world, but not ideal. And so that kind of got me really curious about the iMac. There's something beautiful about it. I mean, it's a giant screen, and it has the computer just built in. Aesthetically, I love it. As a designer, I love it. But I can't take this with me. And as much as I love my home office here, get a little stir crazy and I need to get outside sometimes. So, okay, a MacBook Pro can easily run 2600, and that's kind of what I was looking at. An iMac, a new one, can run 2600 pretty easily as well, because all the default configurations give you a Fusion drive. Nobody wants that. You really want solid state built in. So those can get expensive. Now, of course, going to an iMac Pro would be even better, but since we are on a budget, $5,000 is a little steep. So that wasn't quite an option. So then I thought, well, there is this brand new Mac Mini. It has the T2 chip. It has a desktop 6-core processor now. Some nice things. And you can get it for about $1,000 less than a MacBook Pro. I already have a 4K monitor right here, so wouldn't that be great? But there are two reasons why I didn't get a Mac Mini, and I think they're really big drawbacks. The first is it still only has Intel graphics. There's no AMD anything on board. And as I saw, it's the same thing that a MacBook Pro has, and I saw in my 13-inch review, those graphics just really do not cut it. They're just bad. And like I'd want to run one, two, perhaps two 4K displays, and seeing the MacBook struggle with that, I wasn't convinced the Mac Mini would do better. The other issue is there's no webcam, there's no speakers. And it's just annoying, right? So, okay, you could get a Mac Mini, and then to solve the graphics problem, you can get an external Thunderbolt 3 graphics card. That'd be cool. You could add speakers, cool. And you could add a webcam. There's also a lot of wires, just wires everywhere. And so as I thought about this, it just didn't sound good. So it brought me back to the iMac. And I realized that, you know what, even with an i5, because you're getting the desktop i5, it runs at a higher clock rate. And you're getting the RAM, and you're getting the upgradability, and you have all those things built in. You have an AMD card, you have a webcam, you have speakers, and it's just kind of a nice package. And so actually, just being savvy on Craigslist and eBay, I was able to buy both of these, an iMac and a MacBook Pro, for less than just one of these would cost by itself. Like, if you got a fully spec'd out MacBook Pro, you're looking at $3 grand. I got both of these for $3 grand, about $1,500 each. And this is a 2017 iMac, and this is a 2018 MacBook Pro. So this is, the newest. It's just the one with a 555 Radeon, so the basic spec. And this is also the basic spec iMac, but with a 512 gig SSD and 16 gigs RAM. And I know the 2019 ones just came out, and they have newer, better CPUs, but I felt like saving $1,100, no, $1,200, yeah, it was worth it for this guy. And I've been really happy with it. What's great about this setup is there's no more like docking your MacBook to the monitor and then figuring out all that stuff and pairing the Bluetooth. You just have your home office and you have your iMac and it's ready to go. And you have your mobile office and it's ready to go. And so I use iCloud to keep everything in sync, and of course Git to keep my projects in sync. So as long as you remember to Git push to your remote before leaving, God said, everything's fine. And anyways, I've been really happy with this setup. Both these computers have AMD cards, 16 gigs RAM. They both just run so much smoother than the 13-inch that I tried in my older computer. So both of these feel like a really good upgrade, and I feel like I have a good experience when I use either one. So yeah, and the other thing, what's crazy is, yeah, you could get a really nice Thunderbolt display and all these things, but actually that would cost as much as the iMac did. And just having a whole separate computer, I think is worth it, and I think the display on this is really great. So I've been super happy with this setup, and definitely recommend it just as a kind of overview of different options. And what I like about these two machines is they perform pretty similarly. We'll do some benchmarks and see which one. I'm curious which one's faster. I know this one has a better graphics card. They have the same RAM. This one technically has like a newer, better processor because it's actually a hexa-core. But this one just runs way faster, right? Even though it's i5, because it's a desktop chip, there's no battery issue. It can just run at a much higher, consistent megahertz count, right? And that is important because although all modern CPUs can boost really high, like 4 gigahertz or so, this one is staying steady at 3.5. This one's going to go down to 2.2. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see, I think what Apple does next with the iMac. They haven't redesigned the shape in a while. That's why I felt getting a 17 for cheaper was better than buying a 19, even though the 19s are great. I'm really excited to see kind of what they do with a Navi GPU and Face ID and a newer, thinner display, all those things.